Welcome to South Asia, where we will be learning about the countries of India, Nepal, Bangladesh, and Bhutan. So we'll start with the biggest, India, which is a third of the size of the USA, but it has almost 4 times the population and expression of that area. And has the second largest population in the world, only following China, and that's just over 1 billion people. And the government is a federal parliamentary republic. We'll talk a little more about that, where it means they have 3 branches of government, similar to the US, and the president is actually um, elected through electoral colleges, but the legislative branch does have quite a bit of power as well in enacting laws, and is representative of the states and the people. It did gain its independence from the United Kingdom in 1947, and this increased stability in politics, and over the recent years has allowed for some economic growth, and that has come through a lot of deregulation, especially as it's developed into an open market economy. That deregulation is especially shown in the last, between years 1997 and 2011, where it's seen a 7% growth every year, where there's a short dip in the growth, but then again in 2014 and 2015, it's over 7% growth. The GDP overall is number 4 in the world. Unfortunately, when it's divided per capita, it's only number 1. It's only 158. And unfortunately, as well, 30% of the population lives below the poverty line, compared to the US, where only 15% is below that poverty line. Culture in India can be really diverse depending on the religion, but primarily Hinduism is the main influence, and that can be seen in the festivals of the year, especially such as the festivals of Festival of Colors and the Festival of Lights. There's also arranged marriages in India, and when that happens, the wife will go and live with the husband's family, and that's created the joint family system, where a lot of people are living in one house. There's also a caste system in place there, where it's very rigid and you don't move from caste to caste, but stay where you were born into. The burden of disease in India is about half non-communicable diseases, and with those non-communicable diseases, diabetes is one of the most prevalent ones. India is actually named the diabetes capital of the world. And then only 4.7% of their GDP is spent on healthcare, and so there's a room improvement there, as well as in the number of physicians they have. They only have about 0.7 physicians per 1,000 people, where the World Health Organization has recommended at least 2.3 physicians per people, or else you just won't have enough to go around. The life expectancy is 68.5 years, and as far as communicable diseases go, the big ones are HIV, tuberculosis, malaria, diarrhea, acute respiratory infections, and maternal and perinatal conditions. And the tuberculosis is a big one because a fifth of the world's cases of tuberculosis are found in India. Some potential barriers to healthcare improvement is that healthcare is a state responsibility, so each law has to go through each state and isn't found nationwide. 80% of doctors and specialists are found in urban areas, but only about 30% of the country's population is located in urban areas as well. And a large portion of medical expenses are out of pocket, but like compared to the US, where it's about 11%, the out-of-pocket expenses are with the individual people. So there's a concern that the supply of infrastructure and medical staff won't keep up with the demand.
Okay, next we have Nepal. Nepal is like its surrounding countries. Its major religion is Hinduism, and Buddhism is famous for its home to Siddhartha, the founder of Buddhism, and also Kathmandu, a famous Hindu temple. Nepal no longer operates with a caste system, but because the tradition is still present, just like in the other rich stay rich and the poor stay poor. Nepal has recently been experiencing peace in its country. Their civil war ended in 2006. However, drafting a new constitution took longer than they expected. And Nepal's recent 2013 election showed a good step towards a peaceful democratic state. Nepal has been doing drastically better as far as their GDP goes since around 2000, and where once 53% of the population lived on less than $1.25 a year, now is at 25%. This number is still very high, but we can see that Nepal has been making progress towards helping its impoverished population. Nepal's greatest burden is its years of life lost due to premature death. The main cause of this is lower respiratory infections, and this is because of household air pollution from solid fuels. And poor infrastructure and lack of government support are barriers to better health care in Nepal.
Now we have Bangladesh. It is the third most populous country in Asia and number 9 in the world. Population comes to 170 million, and it has a patriarchal social regime. The culture is predominantly Muslim, with Islam being the largest religion, Hinduism coming in a close second. And women dominate the blue-collar workforce. And the most popular form of public transportation is rickshaws, being able to maneuver through traffic a lot easier than buses or cars can. Politics, you got the main official form of government being parliamentary republic. It is the third most peaceful country in South Asia, and the government is also in charge of healthcare and administration. The economy has improved a lot, but it could still use some more improvement. Poverty is still a big issue with it. The main source of work comes through agriculture. However, the clothing industry is growing, but with that comes its own occupational hazards. Burden of disease, malnutrition is an issue that affects the whole country. Also, there's a lot of rural areas and village doctors, like their only source of healthcare. There is a high prevalence of harmful and inappropriate drug prescriptions, and so their only source of healthcare is not even adequate. And women are less likely to seek medical care than men. Some barriers that they face is the government lack of support, and having less than 5% of the country's GDP spent on healthcare. There are low levels of education all around, and there is very limited access to adequate healthcare. Then we have Bhutan, with a population of 7,500,000, with a life expectancy of 70 years old. 25% of the healthcare expenditures are out of pocket. So the economy is very small. It's mainly agriculture, hydropower, and forestry. It relies heavily on India for labor and trade. GDP is 168 in the world, and per capita it's 148. The culture, primarily Buddhist and Hinduism. Men and women work in the fields, and they share the same household responsibilities. Isolation is culture. So only in the last 20 years have foreigners been able to even come visit, and there is a very strict discipline behavior expectation. Politics. It became a unified kingdom in December of 1907. Form of government is constitutional monarchy, and it is hereditary. Burden of disease. Got communicable diseases, which is 24%, and 21% chance of death come from the 4 main non-communicable diseases, which are cancer, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and chronic respiratory disease. Some potential barriers that they face is only 3.6% of the GDP is spent on health expenditures, And also they are not very open to foreign influence and outside.
Now, looking South Asia as a whole, life expectancy is currently at 68 years. Problems include HIV, AIDS, malnutrition, infant mortality, and tuberculosis. And 2/3 of the world's population of those who live on less than $1 a day reside in South Asia. And as we said earlier, they're doing better, but this still needs to be improved. And it's the only region spending less on health from 2000 to 2006. So there's definitely much that needs to be done to help the standard of living of those that live in South Asia.